which they walked out twice at Wembley for a replayed FA Cup final in 1993. What a prospect. Part of a famous semi-final in the FA Cup back in 1983, in which Brighton were the victors in a one-off at Highbury. Forestieri given an opportunity, a sniff of a chance. You can't afford to do that too often. Alex Lopez taking charge there, and there's Pudil. It's fallen kindly for Hooper. Swept away by Connor Goldson. The tempo has been set early here, David.
Absolutely, and obviously as a neutral, we're sat here thoroughly enjoying it after only, what, 40 or so seconds. It comes from the freshness that perhaps the Wednesday team feels. Sometimes when there has been a weak miss in a game where you might feel a little bit sluggish, this real first 10 or 15 minutes will let us know exactly what kind of tempo they're going to approach the game in Wednesday. And you look at the fans and this noise of the fans and the sizable turnout, then it's going to spur them on no end.
Lineup after suspension. Red card against MK Dons didn't cost him his part in the post-season campaign, as for a couple for Brighton, one temporarily. Here's Hooper, Bannon arriving at the back, it's Forestieri, and it's Anthony Knockart, his first major contribution, a defensive one. Wednesday haven't always been quick starters this season, indeed more often it's been the opposite, but really at it right at the start here. Here's Skalak, the Czech, and buildup. It's Forestieri's turn of the top attacking talents out there to put in a bit of industry.
If we're going forward with this Wednesday team, he has got the other side of the game, tracking back. Gary Hooper more often than not stays quite highly pushed up, and Forestieri can be the link between the midfield and the more forward-thinking players. Like I said, they started off with a lot of tempo. What Brighton are going to do to work their way into the game. Steve Sidwell's been dropped in there instead of Dale Stephens, and suspended Dale Stephens, and really got to get up to speed very, very quickly.
Calm moment for David Stockdale. His heart was racing here.
They broke forward at real pace here, and just a heavy touch from Forestieri, which almost runs into the path of Bannon. I think Bannon was making the point that he was free at the back post.
That's Lee. Pressure from Kayal, who's not got his regular sparring partner alongside him. It's been much debated. Red card from Middlesbrough, the 3-game ban from Middlesbrough stands. Pudil. Forestieri sharing an extra motivation from playoff heartbreak with Watford back in 2013.
Nice little period this last couple of seconds for Brighton, just to get on the ball, get a foothold in the game. What they do have with Gordon Greer, the club captain, coming back into the team, is he'll always want the ball, he'll always have that ball rolled out from the goalkeeper.
Back into the groove. There's a man alongside him who actually prevented him from returning to the team from injury a lot earlier. But just a forlorn onlooker, partially covering his face. Dale Stephens there. A red card that was controversial in many eyes, although he did clearly do plenty of damage. His challenge to Gaston Ramirez of Middlesbrough. Did note the ironic social media post of a video imploring donations to the Gaston Ramirez shin pad appeal.
It's a slight grey area whether what do you do? Do you punish the actual foul itself or the result of the foul? That's where the interpretation comes into it for a referee. And it's a tough gig, but they put themselves forward for it, don't they?
much at its best. Big occasions of this size, few and far between in recent years. Bannon. Lee. Knockout. Clean with the challenge, despite the appeals. Shake of the head from Andre Mariner, a man whom both teams will hope to see a good deal more of next season. Here's Greer. Forestieri. Into trouble in the shape of Thomas Hemed, Brighton's top scorer. Lopez. Bannon. Whilst much of the focus has been on Forestieri, his contribution has been at least as great.
It's a player that just seems to grow in stature and influence once he's on the pitch, and we know what his ability is. We know he can pass the ball with a lovely left foot. It's very much the sum of the parts of this Wednesday team, with the sprinkling of the stellar names.
Reminders of glories past in Chris Waddle there. In the heady days of two cup finals in the same season, and I seem to recall the semi-final was quite memorable for him. Lee. Hooper. Jack Hunt. In towards Kieran Lee, an important intervention there by Gordon Greer. Caught it well enough there, did Hunt. Well, Ross Wallace.
The captain does his job here, getting on the end of a very, very strong cross by Jack Hunt. Good number of players in the box by Wednesday, 4 in total. So ambitious at the end.
Well, ambitious, but his left foot is something a little special, isn't it? Ross Wallace, he's been their most creative player, and as you can see, knows the course.
I think sometimes when you do see the ball bouncing out and you see a certain type of player trying to take on a shot from 25 yards out, your eyes roll, but it's quite right to say, Dan, the ability of Ross Wallace is absolutely undeniable.
Knockout kept it in, and it allows Bruno to make tracks down that right side, and Baldock's effort, very importantly blocked by Glenn Louvens.
Was a good blocking in, we're stood directly behind this. Does really well to keep it in, anti-knockout. I thought he'd made the wrong choice here, Bruno, as it comes back. Louvens gets as close as possible as he can. Just look, a little nudge off the back of the skipper's head, takes it away from goal.
Set plays, a big Brighton strength when Scalak delivers them in particular. Oh, and Hemed, it cannoned off the post.
How often do we give them the big build-up and they don't deliver, but this is a wonderful cross by Scalak. Really whipped into a dangerous area. That's exactly where he wants it to be. Middle of the 6-yard box, attacked at pace. So unlucky by Thomas Hemed, getting a little steal, a little march on his marker.
Scalak's delivery, his movement and aerial prowess, quite a heady mix for Brighton. In every sense. Greer getting the grips there with Hooper. Lee. Wallace on his left foot again, and it's Goldson who got the block in this time. Well, it really is rattling along this game.
KJ at this semi-final so far, it's fantastic. This ball from Kieran Lee is just behind Wallace, so he has to check his run. Again, he's hold of it so very well.
Still jousting forward in there. Jerry was involved. Gordon Greer to sweep it away. Forward by Hunt. Poodle up against Bruno. Dig it out. Forestieri. Wallace! Really telling touch by Stockdale. That's an important save. hoping to get free at the back, and Pudil certainly has done at the near. Leuven's in there, it is Pudil. Back in again. Was there a tug by Bong in there? It certainly looked like it from here. Wallace again. Lopez, maybe he'll set his sights here. Dramatic block by Sidwell.
We'll give him this 10-second breather. It's real breakneck speed in this first 11 minutes. Gradually closer, Ross Wallace. It's one of the best of the bunch so far. What a save by Stockdale as it comes through bodies as well. Just untidy marking again from Gaten Bong. Got to get close to him, man, but you're too close. You can't get too tight. Again, there's lots of shirts being pulled. I think Bong's having his shirt pulled as much as Forestieri there. A bit of both. Looks untidy, looks clumsy. Puts a doubt in the referee's mind.
To get to grips with things in every sense, Gaetan Bong. His first start since October, had a long spell out with a thigh injury. Rossinio, in particular, who's filled in so admirably lately, I'm sure desperately disappointed not to get another chance. The first 12 minutes or so will have certainly sharpened the Brighton focus. The pressure they've come under. From the camp is that they have shaken off the disappointment pretty quickly. Last weekend, you take it in isolation, it was an extremely good result up at the Riverside, getting a point with 10 men for so long.
Well, almost a killer blow in the kind of context of the season, but I quite like to say, Dan, I was speaking to Colin Calderwood before, quite a quiet start to the week for Brighton, but have grown into it. The focus back.
It's all happening in the penalty area.
Well, it's just been a bit untidy, I think, by Gaten Bong. Looking to get as close as possible to Forestieri. There's a little nudge in the back. Well, not necessarily the back of the neck. Again, it does enough to put a doubt in the referee's mind, but as we've seen in recent weeks, when Fernando Forestieri goes down, more often than not, he's got the other rub of the green and not the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, it is a tricky one for Andre Mariner, but I think it's got to the point now where he simply has to see the blue and white stripes rather than the name and the number on the back of his shirt. So it has been very unfortunate. Here's Bong. Kayal. Porter's voted in Player of the Year. Understated, underrated figure in the midfield for Brighton this time.
It's been a very strong start by the home side, feeding off the energy of Hillsborough. Better the chances, Brighton, though, you've got to say, hitting the post.
Both teams, as the season has progressed, have found different ways to win. They've been scoring goals for fun at home Brighton the last month or so. Chris Hughton will tell you they've not necessarily been playing any better than they have done before, but the end product has been spectacular. It's been very much encouraged by the reaction post-Middlesbrough. Retain the same consistency of approach that served them so well.
I don't think we expect anything different, do we, from Chris Hughton? His approach to the game, his approach to his team has been consistent through the season, hence the fact that you have a consistent output from your players. You know what the message is, and with the highs and the lows that come from the games, and as you say, Dan, the game, take it on its merits of 1-0 up at the Riverside, good result in the context of the season, real dampener on their automatic promotion expectations, but many teams get the second chance to go again.
keep it. Stoke able to get back into contention for the second leg and potentially a final. Goldson looking towards Tomer Ahmed, but the flag is up against him. Scott Ledger, the assistant on this near side. It's the moment that's kept Brighton's sheet clean.
It's the third one of a trio of attempts he's had at goal, Ross Wallace. This one he catches absolutely spot on. It is arrowing its way into the bottom corner. Agility from David Stockdale, just nip down very quickly to his left-hand side. And feeding off the energy of his players, of his defence.
Back in his native Yorkshire, and a bit of playoff experience to improve upon this season, he hopes. Wallace always want to come inside. Hunt. Here's Knockaert. Bruno arriving outside him, as he tends to do, and it's a dangerous ball too, which buildup couldn't latch onto. Knockaert. Well, the buccaneering Bruno showing why he has been voted the best right-back in the division.
Well, absolutely not shy about getting forward, the Brighton right-back Bruno. It's a wonderful ball, putting at pace. Not only at the pace of the run, but the pace of the ball that actually puts in.
Strong going both ways and champing at the bit because he missed Brighton's two previous playoff campaigns through injury. Oh, Kennedy isn't there again. He didn't have to jump this time. And he's appealing for a deflection in a corner.
I thought the first corner where they hit the post would have been enough of a warning sign. They've got to start picking up from corner, Sheffield Wednesday. Tomer Ahmed, we know how prolific he is, we know how good he is with his head in the box. So he also got deflection on the way through, so frustrated that they didn't win the corner.
Well, that's the chief concern for Carlos Carvalhal so far. It's not been to the fore in some ways, the defensive aspects of his approach. As he says, there's no phrase in Portuguese for a clean sheet, which is a surprising outlook for a former centre-back, but there we are.
I'm sure he's got plenty of phrases for responsibility and commitment and communication within the 18-yard box from a corner.
I have a feeling. Having said that, they've kept as many clean sheets this season as any Wednesday side ever has. Forestieri takes the chance! It had to be him! Sheffield Wednesday's star man comes up with a breakthrough!
The surge of power that comes through this stadium once this ball hits the back of the net. Truly a sight to behold. Straightforward ball down the middle of the pitch that Wednesday could probably wish for. Brighton have got to do so much better dealing with it. Takes it so early, Forestieri. I don't think Stockdale is allowed to get set, is allowed to know where the ball's going to go. Get dragged out of position, the two centre-halves.
Well, Andre Mariner going across to Darren Cann, the assistant. They were desperate for a flag against Forestieri. Well, have they reversed the decision? It looks that way. Now Carlos Carvalhal is apoplectic on the bench. Well, after consideration, they have decided that Fernando Forestieri was in an offside position when that long kick was struck. Every picture tells a story. Well, have they got it right in the end?
Well, we definitely don't need clarification on Carlos Carvajal's take on this. Take that into context there. It's Fernando Forestieri going way offside, but he's back onside with the flick.
But did he touch it?
And that shot, the linesman's run off there. The assistant referee's nowhere near to be seen to make the decision.
Well, it's fair to say we have our first major controversy. The assistant referee may well have felt that there was indeed a flick, a secondary touch, whilst the referee did not. It seemed initially that Darren Cann, the assistant, was happy to say, yep, goal. Fair to say we have a major talking point on our hands, and the atmosphere distinctly heated.
Not that it needed any stoking up the atmosphere, but it's certainly put a cat amongst the pigeons here. The real debate is you look at the reaction of the assistant referee, and was he spoken to by Brighton players? Was he asked the question initially after the goal had gone in whether there was the hint of offside?
Hooper this time. Lee bursting through, and he's done well. The effervescent Kieran Lee got there, and then couldn't make the most of it.
He didn't need to take this so early. He manages to get past Gordon Gray, and he's got so much time to drive into the 6-yard box.
Well, the fourth official's lot is really a happy one. And Andy Woolmer bearing the brunt of the anger at others' decision-making. Oh, and Westwood's in big trouble. Moments was on hand, and the Wednesday keeper, one of the best around in this division, very grateful that he was. Well, we have seen a couple of extraordinary moments already tonight. Here's Scalak. Now has a fair idea what this playoff business is all about. Buildup is going to challenge for this. Illegally. Westwood a little unhappy with this moment because he appeared to have it in both hands.
That's the question of the linesman here. He does have it in both hands. It's very definitely the keeper's ball.
Hooper. It's a Brighton free kick. He's done nothing for his mood.
He's a very emotional manager. You do get the sense that he gets that into his players and the players feed off it. He's got to be careful that he keeps them in check to be able to lead the team and give them that kind of concise, progressive information that gets them in front of this game.
Bruno. Baldock has retrieved the situation, away by Glenn Lovins. Forestieri can't get away from Kyle. It might be a while before Andre Mariner is welcome back at Hillsborough. He may come here, but he won't be welcome.
They are going to get as close as possible to Fernando Forestieri. They know they don't want to get him on the half-turn. And between Sidwell and Beram Kayal and Goldson and Gordon Gray, they are going to get as close as possible.
Feels like the world is against him, but he has been a ray of sunshine. Generally, he's the most charming figure. Always got a smile on his face. Well, generally has a smile on his face. Maybe I should amend that statement. Here's Connor Goldson, a man who seized his opportunity, grabbed it with a vice-like grip. Brighton very comfortable in their own skin away from home, just 2 defeats this season, and one was a complete aberration in front of our cameras down at Cardiff.
Almost a must-win game for Cardiff, and everything they hit that day went into the goal. It was a reaction that we saw in the following weeks from Brighton that showed the steel and the metal of the team.
It's certainly been there. They've had plenty of setbacks along the way this season, whether it be injuries, suspensions, as everybody gets, but a sticky spell of results over Christmas looked in many eyes as though it would finish their challenge. Wrong they were. Lopez. Pudel. Gordon Gray to tidy up. Forestieri won that and scampering after it determinedly. Kayal. Wallace, who is going to receive a yellow card.
Right, I think this is the first time Ross Wallace has gone in for a tackle and mistimed it. So mistimed it, he knows what he's doing, he's stretching. That's the fact the yellow card comes out.
Sent off on his last appearance for Sheffield Wednesday against MK Dons on a night of disappointment. Goalless draw here, which at that point was a major setback in their chase for a playoff place. Wow, what can Knockaert conjure here? Or maybe everybody's left him to it. No great surprise, he can walk the walk as well as talk the talk. He floats it in there. Sidwell had the freedom of Sheffield. Westwood able to deal with it in decisive fashion. Here's Baldock. Now Scalak, well, he won't get there because Hunt does. Well, let's see if we can get the final definitive word on whether or not the controversy of the night is a controversy at all.
We've seen a lot of very good linking between Hooper and Forestieri, and what we're trying to look for is whether actually Hooper gets a touch on the ball, because at this stage Forestieri is quite obviously offside. It's whether Gary Hooper gets a little flick off his studs, off the sole of his boot. From that angle, it doesn't quite conclusively clear it up. On there, it doesn't look to me like he gets a touch on it. I think that the fact that throws the whole stadium into confusion is how long it takes for that flag to come up, how long it takes for a decision to be made from the assistant referee.
It took a long time, but what matters most is they got there in the end. Darren Cann, the assistant, and Andre Mariner between them, getting the decision right.
They did, and in the euphoria, you look at Hillsborough and the way it erupted when the goal went in. It's just whether actually Brighton went over and suggested perhaps the element offside, or whether it was brought to the players' attention by the assistant referee.
We do have one of a real premier officiating team. Here's Bong. Connor Goldson. Buildup, Knockout wants it. What he wants, he often gets. Buildup up there to win it. Hooper, tussling. Here's Kayar. Looking towards Hemed, who you might gather is struggling a touch at the moment. Actually, we're looking for Skalak out there on the left, but it's got a slight problem. He's going to try and run it off. Lost a key man at the back in Lewis Dutton through suspension, a key man in midfield in Dale Stevens through suspension. They don't want to lose their top scorer to injury. It's Jerry buzzing around. Competitive instincts sharpened on the mean streets of Argentina growing up. Moving freely, the Israeli. That 5 minutes he was given to run it off is up.
It'll be a blow if he does go off. He's a big physical presence up there for Brighton, working in tandem with Sam Baldock. He can create the kind of chances that they need to get themselves ahead in this game.
One thing you would say, it's an area of the field where Brighton are blessed, aren't they? I mean, they've got some terrific options. James Wilson on the bench. Lively Loney from Manchester United. Sadly, missed the playoffs. Bobby Zamora not available because of a hip injury he's been struggling with for some time. And that's Andy Rhodes, the goalkeeping coach, who's having plenty to say about the decision regarding the disallowed goal. Concerned too.
I think sometimes they're in the position where they have got a couple of minutes or so. I'm not saying the referee's got to come over and explain every decision he makes, but as we can quite clearly see from up here in the gantry, everyone's asking the linesman, everyone's asking the fourth official. I suppose if Andre Mariner came across and just said, look fellas, this is what's happened, this is our interpretation of what's gone on, perhaps it'll stop all this consternation down there, because hopefully the referee's word on it is final. I know we know that's not always the case, but it might just kind of cool down the emotions there on the touchline.
Oil and troubled waters and all that.
And I can only presume that it's a combination of the referee and the assistant referee coming together to make this decision. Obviously, look at Andre Mariner, he's close enough to see whether Gary Hooper gets the touch. And here's a fantastic finish by Fernando Forestieri, but what we're looking at here is the fact that the assistant referee doesn't actually put his flag up straight away. He's still thinking about it, he's still chewing over, and even David Stockdale, I don't think he's looking at the lines when he's asking his fellow players what's going on or berating them.
Well, Darren Cann, and I don't want to necessarily put myself in his head and in his shoes, but he clearly presuming there was a touch on the way through. That's anything you can sort of say to account for the decision.
I think on first glance, I think we all thought there was a touch as it came through from Gary Hooper, but As I said, the combination of the referee and his assistants have come to the conclusion.
Here's Scalak. Bong, he's overcooked it. Well, this is just the start of the Championship playoff semi-finals, and we've got another compelling prospect for you tomorrow from the iPro Stadium. Derby against Hull tomorrow from midday, Sky Sports 1. In the regular season, Derby scored 6 without reply in the 2 games. Means nothing, of course, now. So I'm sure Steve Bruce will be possibly yelling at the television at this point.
Darren Wass will be the opposite end of that, I think.
Ahmed, a bit of a passenger at the moment, and it looks as though he's going to be replaced any moment. Lopez, Bannon, Pudil, Forestieri, Hooper, Bannon, Hunt, Lee, Wallace moving outside him. Bruno has time. Well, we saw Connor Goldson come to the sideline with a problem a little earlier. And with James Wilson stripped and ready to replace Tom Ahmed, now Brighton have another big concern. Well, Liam Rosenior getting ready to apply his versatility to the situation, as he has so often this season. Well, what a blow this is. He's been a superb performer since he cemented his place in the side over the Christmas period. Won their Young Player of the Year award and couldn't have been far away from the main one.
He's been a tremendous addition to the team, and a real maturity in the leadership that belies his years, Connor Goldson.
Seeking a successive promotion after going up with Shrewsbury Town and Mickey Mellon last year from League Two. While the boos ring out, it appears that Connor Goldson's night has come to an early conclusion, as indeed has Tom Ahmed's. Well, it's woe upon woe for Brighton.
Well, having to make a double substitution through injury at this early stage of the matches. A blow in some respects, because it does narrow down your options later on in the game if you either are chasing it or looking to shut up shop.
Double substitution for Brighton and Hove Albion, number 10.
I hope for both players' sake that it's not going to be a concern beyond tonight. Well, the debate going on between Bruno and Rosenior as to who is going to take the central role, and it would appear that Bruno is going to do that now. Buildup on now for Scalak. Robust but very vital piece of defending there by Jack Hunt, who was felled by the Czech. Just to confirm that the news from down below is that Tom Ahmed's problem is a hamstring injury. Turning that around in 3 or 4 days is going to be a potential problem.
Well, it depends on the kind of severity of what he's feeling, whether it just feels tight, and then you do right to kind of manage it into the next game, because you never know what could be riding on or what the situation might be going into the next game.
almost nipped in. And coming under pressure from buildup. Here's Wallace. It's Liam Messina. Come in. There's no doubt about where the problems lie. Immediate attention. Getting wrapped up, and maybe he could be back in business on Monday. Not a flag there, Brighton. Didn't come. Kieran Lee. Bannon at the back post. The senior dealing with that. Bannon perhaps feeling he was impeded a little.
There's a little suggestion of where perhaps Wednesday's players' heads are at the moment. As soon as Jack Hook went forward, before he even touched the ball, he looked over at Darren Cann on that far side just to check that he was onside.
Forestieri. No surprise he's been at the centre of the drama. Pudel. Cross. Gary Hooper rightly applauding.
Applauding Gary Hooper. I think it might be better served to throw himself across the ball there. Wonderful crossing from Daniel Pudel. I think considering it's a 0-0 down so far, it's not like the boys in the studio have got a hell of a lot to get through at half-time. Plenty of action, plenty of thrills at each end.
Oh, it's good to have them back, isn't it? The playoffs. Further word on... Oh, well, there's a problem for Hunt. Lost out to Scalak, who stayed down, and then Marino saying play on. Scalak back and sprightly over on that far side. He's made a huge difference, the Czech, particularly with his dead ball ability. He's moving all right now. Came from Mlada Boleslav in the January window. It was one they were keeping tabs on in the summer, but opted against at that point. Solly March's unfortunate injury earlier in the season, when he was absolutely flying in terms of his own personal form, the decisive factor in making that move when they did.
It's been recruitment at the right time that's helped them maintain this wonderful season that they've had. A couple of very lengthy unbeaten spells that have been sprinkled with, as you quite rightly say, down in recent weeks, some very, very prolific goal return in the games.
Bong. Scalak. He's become a crowd favourite here. Bong. Up to Hooper. Very businesslike here from Wednesday. Wallace. Hunt moving up outside him. Wallace has eyes for goal! Oh, that is sensational! Well, nothing's going to cut short their joy this time. He's had a few sighters, but that was bang on target.
Safe to say there'll be no debate about this one. Look at the energy that they all show getting forward. Jackson goes on the overlap, takes a couple of Brighton players out, allows Ross Wallace to come inside. Is Gary Hooper anywhere near the ball going in the bottom corner? I don't think so. It's such a sweet, sweet hit from Ross Wallace. He's had a few sighters. It's just the pace, the direction of the ball. It's the fact that it skids up off the surface. Stockdale, it's too hot for him to handle. What a way to take the lead.
he's not been a good watcher during his spell out of the side because of suspension. But he'll watch that one over and over and over again. He's chipped in here and there, but that by far the most important. It's the goals he makes, really, that he's noted for. And certainly if this proves to be a memorable playoff campaign for Wednesday, that will become an iconic moment, and it's certainly improved the manager's mood and them.
Certainly gave David Stockdale enough warning, 3 or 4 attempts before, one that I'd argue was a harder shot to save that Stockdale managed to pull out the bottom corner. Whether he saw it late, whether it came through a couple of bodies from David Stockdale, but to be able to get a firm hand on it.
Wednesday haven't had much playoff previous, but they do have a 100% record in playoff matches. 2 wins against Brentford in the semi-finals in 2005 before they beat Hartlepool at the Millennium Stadium on the big day to gain promotion to this division.
Feature of the way that they play, with Ross Wallace out on that right hand side with Jack Hunt behind him. Every time he comes inside Ross Wallace, you'll see Jack Hunt bombing past him, takes opposition players away. It allows Ross Wallace to come in on that left foot of his and just opens up the angle for him.
Kayal doing that dirty work which often goes unnoticed, but very important work for Brighton. Set piece with Jerzy Skalak over the ball, and that means danger. Knockout there too. They're spoilt. And it's going to be Skalak. Loitering at the back. Knockout. Doesn't give up on it. Fizz beyond buildup. Here's Bruno. Sidwell. Senior wants it. Still just over a minute before half-time. Bruno. Wilson. And they battle back from behind to get something out of the game in their last 2, Brighton. It's that refusal to lie down that has been a hallmark of their season. Delivery, Westwood gets something on it, back in by Sidwell, decisive defending required. Skalak. Well, ending the half well here, Brighton.
It's impressive that the pick-up Beckham have done on the corners thus far, Sheffield Wednesday. We've seen Skalak's delivery with pace, with accuracy.
Mohamed had a free header that went wide off a Sheffield Wednesday defender. He's also hit the post. The field now, but there are plenty of other tools in the box, and Bruno one of them. Back in by Greer. Very gratefully received that claim from Kieran Westwood, one of the safest pairs of hands in the championship. Got bouncing as the half-time whistle blows amidst the din. Darren Cann in the centre of the stop. Getting the second half underway. You know, this season for Wednesday, it's been their best points tally since they were promoted under Big Ron 25 years ago, a season when they also won their last major trophy. A brief golden age, really. A lot of talk about the 2 cup finals in '93. What's often forgotten. The season in between, on the penultimate Saturday of it, they were still in a mathematical shout of winning the league title itself. Actually, and whispering around here, Leeds took the title.
Very much a whisper, I think, around Hillsborough.
Courtesy of Liverpool beating Manchester United. I remember. Jack Hunt, Yorkshire lad, Huddersfield fan, from whence he came. A great full debut for them down at Arsenal in the FA Cup, where he was charging around like he owned the place. Lee. Poodle's arriving and steaming onto it.
He has got the option here of being able to lay in a ball to Barry Banner, but it sits up so nicely for him for the ball across from Kieran Lee. Bounces a little bit, gets it sweetly enough.
Settled into life in Sheffield, Daniel Poodle, as his downtime lets off steam by watching a bit of ice hockey, fan of the Steel Dogs. Played the sport for a bit back home when he was young. And possibly still has the bruises to prove it. David Stockdale, I wonder if he'll look back at the goal that did count with a touch of regret.
You do break it down and look at it. It was very well struck by Ross Wallace, but the height, the angle that it comes at him, I think it does come through Gordon Greer. It comes flashing through the 18-yard box, but he pulled off a very, very tricky save earlier on from a Ross Wallace effort, which was a harder shot to save.
Hooper. Forestieri's after this. Bruno has to take charge, and he was remarkably cool. Kayal, buildup. Here's Scalak now for Brighton. Kayal, Rossini wants it. And Rossini has got it. Lovely drilled pass. Knockout. 4 in the area. One of them is buildup. Wow. Busy night for the Brighton medical team, and they're going to have to make the last of their 3 substitutions now and introduce Richie Towell to league football in the hottest atmosphere of all, the playoffs. The Irishman who was banging goals for fun for Dundalk joined in November. With those looking on, unable to play a part, looks as though the list may be a good deal longer when it comes to the rematch at the Amex on Monday night. Knee problem for Sidwell. And Richie Towell, whose only previous Brighton appearance came in the FA Cup at Hull in January, has to make an unexpected entrance.
It's pressurised the situations he could possibly wish to be dropped into. Seems like the bodies are piling up for Brighton, though. The murmurings when a player comes off, but especially in this kind of high-stakes game, you're only really going off the pitch if you physically cannot carry on.
Did start that game, Towell, as kind of a, dare I say, an inside right almost. They played a 3-4-2-1 formation that day, something he dabbled with at the tail end of last season. They just clawed their way to safety. Straightforward role for him in Brighton's 4-4-2 tonight. Self-inflicted pressure here. Hooper, Poodle, Forestieri. It's a foul by Bruno and probably more. It's going to be a booking.
questions in check here, Bruno. Is, like every other Brighton player has done, he's trying to get as close as possible to Fernando Forestieri before he's allowed to turn. Just nicks the ball away. Brings the contact and fights the challenge.
Lovens in the mix. Discussion there with Puda. Pudel's taken up station right at this near edge of the box. Will he be able to get in there unnoticed? Well, it's inviting enough. He's making acquaintance with the advertising hoardings.
There's enough ball put into a dangerous area. Already commits from Wednesday to get into the 6-yard box to get something on the end of it. One thing they can't kind of guarantee is the quality into the box from the set pieces. Carlos Carvajal knows that it's an opportunity miss with David Stockdale rooted to his line.
Given the quality on show at both ends of the field in that respect, the gambles are well worth taking. Wallace has taken a gamble here and sped off quickly, and Bannon had spotted it. So had Bonlo. Brighton have got to get through the next 40 minutes unscathed, now without recourse to the bench, should another injury setback come their way. Tom Lees.
They managed to get back to the Amex on Monday, maybe with just the 1-0 deficit, then give some time to regroup over the weekend and be able to get the maintenance going on perhaps the injuries that they perhaps get back to some form of fitness for the game.
Order of offside there as the ball was struck. Greer, Wallace. Before he was almost too cool there, but Towell certainly dealt with it well. Here's Kayal. I suppose in this kind of scenario, when you pitched in without too much time to think about it, it could be the best way in some circumstances.
So you've got to go in, work up your instincts within the framework of the team, give the ball to his more experienced teammate there, Barem Kayal, who gave it away pretty cheaply. He's due to work his way into the game. Towell just little and often and keep the game ticking along for Brighton.
Forestieri, those dancing feet of his. Pudil. The full-back, a picture of frustration. Stockdale in business-like fashion sought out Scalak, but too long. Carrying him. Season that's been full of ups and downs, largely the downs coming because of injuries which have deprived Chris Hughton of his talents. Then Lovens up towards Forestieri. Bannon. Forestieri. A switch here for Hunt. Touch by Hooper. Here's Wallace. Bannon's left foot. Bruno with the important header on sentry duty there at the near post. Wallace. This is good football in a tight area, but Bruno intervened, and now here's Kayal. as Brighton seek to impose themselves.
Really important that Brighton manage the way through this next few minutes of the game. Hell of a lot of possession in Sheffield Wednesday's favour. It's got to get the foot on the ball, and it's a Brighton team that we know enjoys the passing side of the game, but just take the pressure off, take the sting out of it a little bit. I feel the crowd are up for it here, the home fans, and the Wednesday team are very much up for it, but to take anything back to the Amex next week, they need to be able to just weather this little storm.
Hillsborough as alive with noise as I've ever heard it. Will escape Anthony Knockaert's clutches. Now he's in trouble. There could be an even bigger trouble here if Forestieri has his way. Hooper is offside. Almost dismissive arm out from Ross Wallace, who was right in front of Scott Ledger, the assistant, at every decision the officials make now. But Knockaert is really in trouble.
Real concern for Chris Hughton, not only just from a sheer numbers point of view, but from the kind of player, the calibre of player that is looking at, just goes underneath him there. He's going through, and this is a real test of Anthony Knockaert. Can he understand the situation? Can he look to work through it? If it's his ankle that is turned, then it's a hell of a pain to have to run through. Eyes on the ball, looking for the goalkeeper. Looks a very, very painful one there for Anthony Knockaert.
Well, he simply either has to soldier on, which looks very difficult, or leave his team short-handed.
Tadham, he's getting the, not abuse that he's getting, but the pantomime villain aspect of it. It looks a very, very awkward slip from Anthony Knockaert.
Isn't that often the way? And the man who has given Brighton a sprinkling of stardust when they've needed it at the tail end of this memorable campaign, whatever happens, in trouble. And I talked about Brighton responding to setbacks as the season has gone on. Well, this really takes the biscuit tonight, doesn't it?
There's been several on the spin here, but now's the time for the real team ethic to come through. Now's the time for the togetherness that you gain throughout a season together within the Championship. It's time for complete and utter teamwork to get themselves through it.
Well, given his talent, you know, he's a man capable of writing his name all over this playoff campaign. All bets are off for Tony Bloom, the Brighton chairman. He's done a remarkable job at the club, shaking his head in disbelief at what he's seen here tonight. He's a man who has been lucky. He has certainly helped his ability to finance the football club. His team certainly haven't been tonight, and well, as I've just been reminded, it is Friday the 13th.
Only the next half an hour, he's looking forward to the second leg of this game, whether if they get him off quick enough and get some form of treatment into Anthony Knockaert, whether he can recover. But having had a lot of experience with ankle injuries, it's just such a convoluted and complicated part of the body that it's not as straightforward as it comes.
There's a lot going on there, isn't there?
There is a hell of a lot going on, and we're not talking a couple of days to get round something like an ankle twist like that. We're talking weeks.
So, with 10 men again, but this time in very different circumstances. Similar challenge. 3 minutes they waited to get him off the field. 3 minutes more for Brighton to come through, and a 1-0 defeat would be a very impressive result now. It sounds ridiculous, but it's true. The big fella, Sheffield Wednesday, and never has a description been so apt for Atsi Nuhiu. This is a real opportunity for Sheffield Wednesday here. The circumstances could not be better.
So they've just got to maintain what they're good at, the mobility that they've got throughout the team, the energy they've got throughout the team, the obvious skill of the likes of Wallace, Bannon and Forestieri against the Brighton side that will tire, that will... Sometimes you get deeper and deeper when you have got that extra man down, you just invite pressure on.
Forestieri, Bannon. Hooper, Forestieri, getting into a groove. Will be to the delight of the vast majority here, but there he is. Matty Newhugh. Depending on who you ask, and I don't think anyone can get a tape measure that high, but it's 6'6" or 6'7".
Both is just glad he's not picking him up from corners, I think.
To be fair, whatever his height is, you're going to believe him, believe what he tells you. Championship manager described you to me, he's a big brute of a man, but he can play.
He can, I'll tell you what, if he keeps it simple, if he takes the touch, lays it off, brings people into play, simplifies the element of his game which allows himself to be a fulcrum for the team, and is very effective.
Forestieri. Caught out. Wilson certainly showing plenty of willing energy, but not able to get on the end of that. Ration those forays forward. Buildup slipping in onto the left-hand side. Wallace is offside. Carlos Carvalho right behind the assistant, showing his derision and displeasure. He's had several warnings from the fourth official.
Definitely not been backward in coming forward when it comes to pleading his case. There's only inches in it there.
Big Newhugh replaces Alex Lopez. Two very contrasting footballers.
I think it's very much a lean towards the fact that Carlos Carvalho sees this game as here for the taking, and perhaps not necessarily put it to bed, but get some sizable distance between themselves and Brighton.
Well, there's certainly an amount of dispute about this call. Will it be a big one? Bong. Kayal. Bannon. This is a danger that Brighton will just have to live with. Bannon on the surge. Forestieri's cross towards Hooper. Jack Hunt. Bannon.
They got back well enough there, Brighton. It's going to be imperative. You've got different players playing in perhaps out of position. You've got Buildup now sat in front of Gator Bong down the left-hand side. Liam Rossini's gone over to right full-back. Scalak in front of him. It's imperative that they don't go chasing the game. Obviously being 1-0 down, they've got to try and get themselves back into it, but as I said, taking it back to the Amex just at 1-0 and regrouping, getting the bodies back and fit, and being able to go into the game at relative full strength, so imperative.
The medical bulletin will be lengthy. We'll see it in the curve. Paperwork has gone in for another Wednesday change, which will not be far away. Matthias getting ready. Greer. Bannon. Forestieri, taking up that station on the left-hand side now, where in terms of goals, he's actually been more productive than when he's played through the middle. Although he tends to roam and rove, doesn't he?
He's the type of player that you can afford the luxury to be able to do, well, within the boundaries of reason, to be able to do what he wants on the pitch, because his attacking attributes are so vast.
Big feet initially there from Cooper till Buildup intervened. Forestieri. Lee. Forestieri losing out initially to Buildup. Forestieri to Kerwa. Well, he's well capable of producing what he wanted to produce, just not on that occasion. Marco Matias, score of the Football League's goal of the season. Early in the season against Leeds coming on. He may well have been usurped in the Sheffield Wednesday stakes just for the sheer significance of it, never mind the quality of it, from Ross Wallace. A memorable moment, will it become an iconic one in the history of Sheffield Wednesday?
Very well taken goal. Very much in the heart of a lot of Wednesday's good play in the first half. The left foot of Ross Wallace going forward. Second half not really been in the game as much as perhaps he would have liked to have been.
Matias slotting in, he had a long spell out because he needed to have a hernia operation, headed over to Germany for that. Called in a fair bit of help. Tom Lee's there, he had some attention to his injury problem from a Belgian physio who works with both the national football team and the national ballet. And a Schalk. Oh, and Schalak seized upon that, and that is going to be a free kick and more. Daniel Pudel in receipt of a yellow card.
Let's take affirmative action here, Daniel Pudel. Gets left in the lurch there by a short pass from his captain, Glenn Lubens. That was really well to preempt the danger.
Well, you sense, as we confirm the yellow card, that opportunities will be at a premium for Brighton. Even though they don't have their real expert here in Anthony Knockard on the field, usually Schalak does pack a punch. Adam Kayal also there. Will luck turn his way? Will luck turn Brighton's way in the playoffs? It's going to be Schalak. Anti-climax.
It's a tough skill to get up and over the wall. It's a decent enough direction on it, Schalak, but the distance out, it works against him. He can't get the ball down quick enough.
His shirt was tugged by Matias. The assistant had a close-up view of that. Well, it's lively down there in the technical area. I might even venture it's been a little quieter than it was on Saturday for the game Brighton were involved in. Maybe speaking out of turn, but there we go. Colin Calderwood got involved, let's put it that way.
I think the official line was standing his ground, wasn't it?
Yeah, you don't generally move that far on the standing your ground.
Yeah.
But,
depends how big your ground is.
Oh, you plenty of territory, he'll tell you. That's something that the Premier League has to look forward to next season, the antics of the Middlesbrough bench. Here's Hunt. Forward by Lees. New up. Matthias bustling around with fresh legs. 20 critical minutes in the tie. And the windows of opportunity has opened wide here for Sheffield Wednesday. Hunt. Buildup sticking to the task. He's certainly applied himself to his more defensive shift.
He's such an energetic right back as Jack Conn, who really does get himself forward.
Bannon. He's been a touch frustrated with himself with his last couple of deliveries, and Carlos Carvalhal cutting that figure too.
It's frustrating because when you get someone the size of Atanuhiu coming on, sometimes as a midfielder, when you look up, that's what you're drawn to, the big fella, so immediately the ball goes longer, further and higher, so it kind of goes against what we know Sheffield Wednesday can do. Short passing, energetic, lots of movement in between the lines.
It's a big temptation in every sense, isn't it?
It simplifies it, but perhaps not in the right type of way.
Forestieri. Hunt is always an option. Here he is. Forestieri. Can he pick the way through? Oh, he has! And it's finished superbly! Kieran Lee's delight! Sheffield Wednesday's delight!
This is what they've needed, a commitment to get forward, to make the numbers matter, to get themselves in a position where they can gamble. It's a wonderful finish in the end by Kieran Lee. Slightly fortuitously that it bobbles through, but there's the architect-in-chief again. Nice little dummy, little step over, sets up his own chance, Kieran Lee. Cool as you like there, 6 yards out.
This often understated, underrated figure has scored a critical goal for Sheffield Wednesday that edges them nearer to a place at Wembley for the first time in 23 years and leaves Brighton with a massive task. No team in the history of the playoffs at this level has retrieved a 2-goal deficit from the first leg. They will have to make history if it stays this way.
Signs are ominous for Brighton. The frustrating part of it for Chris Hughton is when you are down to 10 men, you try and funnel the ball essentially into where the real strength of the team is. Nice little step up from Kieran Lee, which rather fortuitously brought out the ricochet, which set him up. They've been prolific tonight, Wednesday, when they've had the chance, when they've had the positions in front of goal.
Wednesday in sight now of their 8th major Wembley occasion. Club with... Scack guilty of a foul. Wednesday's greatest moments through dewy-eyed nostalgia, but they've had to write maybe some more glorious history. Unwanted handball there.
Again, getting so far forward. Really asking questions again to Bongs, but his arms are in. Box, so no real consternation with regards to whether a penalty should have been awarded or not.
It's an inspiring sight, it really is. On for Matthias. Oh! Well, referee didn't deem it worthy of a penalty kick, and he's very much in the minority. Richie Towell, the man who made the challenge. Forestieri. Brighton have got to hang in there because the onslaught could well come. Loose, and here's Kayal. Skalak flying up on the right. Here's Wilson. Was that a foul by Hunt? It was. Was this a worthy shout for a penalty?
Again, it's another Wednesday midfielder getting into the box, this time Marco Matthias. I think he goes looking for that. I think he knows that the contact's going to come as well to pull it back. Doesn't really need to stick the leg out. Can change direction, can come back.
He's trying to make it happen. Skalak's ball. Oh, Richie Towell. The stage was set, but he's responded well to prevent Wednesday from getting away. It's Skalak! Oh, I thought we were in for another Skalak sledgehammer there.
A bit of a trademark of Skalak. It's like opportunities for me to take the shot on first and foremost. Lands so well. Very sweet left foot strike of the ball, Yuri Skalak.
Scored an absolute stunner against Queen's Park Rangers on his stronger side, but he's clearly capable with both. Here's Matthias. Hunt. Tempting ball, Yu beaten to the punch by Bruno. And the big fella guilty of a foul. Kieran Lee's glory moment.
Nice little ball in from Fernando Forestieri. Just sits up so well, but from there, it's the coolness, it's the composure to get it into the bottom corner. Just look what it means to the Sheffield Wednesday boss. The absolute polar opposite of the emotions he was feeling in the first half.
Forestieri, Budel. In by Bannon. Yu can't get there. Gordon Greer. Well, it's a real test of the mettle of the two Brighton centre-backs. The big man from Kosovo around. Buildup stepped in. In full cry. Well, good luck, Gaetan Bong. It's Bannon's ball. Stockdale intervened. Forestieri. To ponder his options in the minimum amount of time. Westwood. Nothing subtle about it. They can use finesse, they can use physicality. tools in their bag.
Not only that, it's the personnel that they've got on the pitch. See Barry Bannon, he's been occupying this last kind of couple of seconds in the middle of the pitch. It allows Kieran Lee to get forward. See the mixture with Tyson, Jack Hunt down this right-hand side. They're not averse to getting forward and covering and overlapping and underlapping. See there's a man extra, but yeah, using it to great effect.
Bannon. Hunt coming in round the back. Sheffield Wednesday seemingly a little more tentative now, having got the second goal. Well, a tremendous start to the Championship playoffs. This just the first of 4 semi-final matches, the first leg of the other man. Derby against Hull tomorrow from midday from the iPro on Sky Sports 1. Derby hoping to exorcise a few ghosts. Lucas Shaw replacing Gary Hooper, who had such a tremendous day against Cardiff when they secured their place in the playoffs. Replacing him, a man with many motivations, because he would quite like to secure a place at either the European Championships or the Olympic Games, or both, with Portugal this summer. It's about time for Owls, isn't it?
So Lucas Shaw just come on and occupied that left-hand side of midfield spot, and Fernando Forestier is pushed back up now up front.
Chansiri came in with a 2-year plan to get to the Premier League. He didn't expect it to happen this year, but they're making tremendous progress. Rossignol, Buildup coming in, and Buildup is up there.
Body blows rain down on his Brighton team, but I know for a fact there won't be any pity party coming out of Chris Hughton and the coaching staff at Brighton. Imperative that their reaction to this is as productive and as positive as possible. Get his team prepared for what is, at this stage, looking at it like this, a Herculean task to get something from the overall time.
It's a foul by Bong. Well, a night of suffering for Tony Bloom, but his club are Premier League ready in every other aspect. And whether it's this year or not, they've been knocking on the door for a while, and they will surely do so again if this is not to be their year. Forestieri is not going to let this one go. Sentences you never hear or see written in the English language, and a fuming Chris Hughton is one of them. Wilson going to ground. He will take this in his dignified stride and prepare his team as best he can. Hugh. Lucas Showers got there.
There's no other way to react to it, Chris Hughton. It is the man, it is the way he operates, the pragmatism that we applaud him for and respect him for. That's exactly what he needs to bring to this situation, the perspective as well. All is not lost, as I said, it's a big, big task, but still another 90 minutes to go in this time, perhaps even beyond that. Even though your stats, Dan, are fairly damning when it comes to overturning 2-0.
That's always the first time. Well, Kieran Lee on the receiving end from Gordon Greer. Poodle is moving up there, but they'll take it short. Bannon fancies this. It's only the patrons of the Kop who have to worry. Splendid season. He's in close quarters with Gordon Greer tonight, and they will be with the Scotland squad in weeks to come, although one of them will have to miss the first of their summer friendlies because of the playoff final. Well, Lewis Dunk and Dale Stevens there, two key men missing for Brighton tonight. It would be difficult to argue that that's really told too much.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the game just as a one-off match and what's gone on in the game and the players that have come off, obviously any team would miss a player of the quality of Dale Stevens. He's had a fantastic season, not only individually but as a partnership with Barham Kyle in the middle of the Brighton central partnership in the midfield. And like I said, it's the nature of football. You have these obstacles to jump over.
Well, Stockdale has got there, and important that he held on there. No, we talk about Nuhu being a big fella, but Lucas João's a formidable figure.
Indeed, he's got the desire to get forward. Still very much time in this game for Sheffield Wednesday to get a third.
Third would surely be a clincher. Two, well, there's still plenty of time, and while we haven't seen it in a championship playoff, we've seen it on many an occasion, this sort of situation retrieved. Over 90 minutes in front of a packed Amex Stadium. You wouldn't rule anything out. Nuhu late on Bruno. End of apology.
Mitigating say it's a centre forward's challenge, but perhaps just lets Bruno know that Nuhu is still around, still wants to get something from the game for himself.
Battle of the beards. But he.
Who's your money on?
That'll be telling. He's quite a temperament to match at times. He has admitted himself, sometimes I'm a bit of a volcano, which is possibly the only line to someone, which yet to be written. Here's Lee. Let's move on, shall we? Here's Leeds. Matthias. Bannon.
Looking at the likes of Bruno and Gordon Greer, not just as players over these next few days, but as personalities within the Brighton dressing room. Steve Sidwell as well, lads and players with experience of playing in big occasions and trying to manage their emotions, battling against the odds, which is very much what it will be coming into the game Monday. As we've seen several times, they've got the quality, they can be prolific, they can take teams apart with their forward play, but it's just having the right, not only the right mixture, but enough personnel to get on the pitch.
It's the ultimate test now of their mental fortitude. You've got to remember that 0-0 in this game. They hit the post through Tom Ahmed. There he is, who had another free header as well, which on another occasion would more than likely have ended up in the back of Wednesday's net. Bit of edge initially to that contest. Well, that's much better, isn't it?
Absolutely. They've not lost any of the discipline, you've got to say, Brighton. It is literally because, obviously, going down players through injury, they've stuck to what task they've set out to try and complete as best as they possibly could. We've had Sam Bullock drop in and play in front of Gaten Bonga, left full-back / left winger, and coped admirably.
Well, dropped to Forestieri, so fleet of foot, and he's got help of all kinds. Found Lee. Scalak industrious. Forestieri. And caught in so many minds there. That was Matthias who made the challenge on Kyle, and he's going to go into the book by the look of it. Card for the Portuguese. Well, he's dug it out, and Buildup steaming onto it. Lucas João. Oh, Kyle, cynical, he might argue, necessary to stem the tide early. A yellow card for him.
He knew exactly what he was going to do, Berham Kyle, didn't he? Lucas João getting into the real head of steam that would have taken him away from the midfielder.
That's the ball in by Hunt. It was beyond Nuhiu, and Rossignol away to relative safety. He feels it. Nuhiu, João's in there. Kyle away. Lees. Nuhiu has got up. No harm done. And this just another step down what has been a memorable journey for Sheffield Wednesday this season. It started in almost faltering fashion, really, the season, as the influx of new players needed time to gel. It was a defeat, actually, which set them on the road at Burnley, as they say round here. They played so well that day, they lost a game but won a team.
Absolutely, but I think if you look over the course of the season as well, this is a team that came into the season out of pre-season. Can't have really thought of the expectations, knowing of getting into the playoffs and where that might take them and beyond. I think even those questions of Carlos Carvalhal, when we've seen how many clubs he'd been at, the kind of turnover of jobs that he'd had and what we would bring to this team, but he's very much proven himself in the Championship this season as a worthy leader of Sheffield Wednesday.
Lees in towards Lucas João. Scalac. Harry Bannon into Forestieri. Oh, just teasing it in there towards Nuhiu, and Rossignol alive and alert, and had to be. May well, in that moment, have kept Brighton in the tie just about. Night of big drama in front of the biggest crowd of the Championship season, 34,602. Rossignol there again. One more opportunity to, in all probability, put the tie to bed tonight. Bruno was up, but not up enough. Bruno away. Given. Reflections on the night, David.
Fascinating from start to finish. It's been breathless stuff. What we thought might be a cagey affair started off very, very brightly. A contentious goal seems like a lifetime ago now, but so unfortunate from a Brighton point of view for the injuries that they've had to deal with. Got to applaud the application they've kept going at with the game. There's the energy, the effervescence of the Sheffield Wednesday team that's got them ahead in this tie.
They have taken a giant stride towards Wembley.